All right, so today we're going to be doing a review of the Medford Antik. Uh, I haven't seen a lot of reviews on these. I've had this for about 8 months or so. Uh, it's had a lot of pocket time. It is the front flipper that Medford came out with last year. I don't know if it was at Blade Show they came out with, but yeah, the action on it's good. Okay, so we'll do some specs real quick. Let's get a weight on it here. Let's see. All right. Weight on it about 4.5. That feels about right. 4.5 ounces. Take the measurement out of the way. So you've got, what are we looking at here as far as length? About a 4-inch blade, 3.5 inches of cutting, about 3.5 inches cutting. Overall length is 8.5 inches. The blade stock thickness here real quick. Let's see. Blade stock thickness 0.124. So thinner blade for Medford. It's a full tie knife. It's got he calls them the chevron pattern on there. It looks good. It's got a titanium full back strap, back spacer, mill titanium pocket clip that works really well. It's kind of like round. The edges are all knocked down on it. It's very, very gentleman-like, I guess you would say, kind of like a gentleman carry knife. That's kind of how I would describe the knife. So you can, very smooth. Now I did put skiffs in these. The reason I put skiffs in certain knives is if I'm going to keep the knife if I know it's a keeper and I'm going to keep it, which I always keep the old bearings, so I've always got the old bearings too. But if I'm going to keep it forever, I put those in because they're not steel. I believe they're brass and ceramic. So you have less likely of rusting or any of that kind of stuff. Plus they do run a little bit smoother. You can tell a difference. There's not, a huge amount of difference, but there is a difference. So on this one, you got the hand ground blade, and the way they did this, it's kind of like a swedge drop point. So they even have the grind lines up here on the swedge, which I just think just looks beautiful. Again, that's 45 EN. It's got a good, I would say that's a 3/4 hollow grind. But the blade, I love the way the blade looks. I love how they did this swedge. They killed it on that. Now, the biggest complaint that I've heard is there's no sharpening choil. And the reason Greg gives for it, basically so it doesn't get caught up in material. So when you're cutting, you don't get any drag. But like and this is just silly, but when you go to cut paper, if you come down it's kind of hard to do, but sometimes you'll slip because that's not right on it. But this knife's been used and carried, still sharp as hell. And then like I say, access to the lock bar. They've got it cut out right there. It's a little bit better than the Slim Eddy. I would say the reason I think a lot of people, I don't know about the, because they put the jimping, the way the jimping is it kind of goes down. So when you're flipping this, you want to go as high as you can on it, and it's never going to fail. And I've seen people try and, they're just too low on it, and you get that. You'll get that action. And you can slow, kind of, I guess you would call that a slow roll, which I don't prefer. It's just easy to do that. And it's not an over-the-top flipper, of course. You can't, but it is a full-size front flipper made in the USA. Size comparisons real quick against, we'll do the Sebenza 31. So roundabout's the same, thickness-wise. Medford's a little bit slimmer. What else we got over here? I got the XM 3.5 and one more, which I always get the Medford M48. And I brought the Medford M48 out, one as size reference, and two, when I post, pictures of this, if I'm carrying it on Facebook or whatever, everyone always asks me which one do I like better. And it's a hard question because they're two completely different knives. The profile is about the same. That's all I can think of when people ask that, because the profile is roughly the same. I think the M48's a little bit thicker. Overall, though, the carry profile, I would say, is about the same. You're gonna have the deep carry pocket clip on the M48 is gonna ride lower, but they're two totally different knives. So when I get asked that question, I kind of say that. I'm like, well, they're two totally different knives, but it's up to you on what action you want. You want a regular flipper or you want a front flipper? And, you can't go wrong with either of them. I think this is a very underrated knife, especially with Medford going into a lot of smaller knife, not necessarily smaller, but you know what I'm saying, as far as the large knives. So when you get it, I've heard some people, oh, it's not smooth. Every knife has a break-in period. This one, if you're not used to front flippers, which this is my first front flipper, and I was waiting for an American-made large size knife for that to come in. Would it have been nice to have this feature where you can, I forget what that's called, where you basically take it and you can flip it. No, I don't think I would like a knife like that. Honestly, this is about as much as a front flipper I'm gonna get. I'm not really gonna pursue a lot more unless, of course, something catches your eye. And then on this hardware, I believe that's a T25, and these are T8s. Real simple to take apart, put back together. Like I said, it is on bearings. You do have that Medford sound, and it's just so glassy smooth as far as the drop goes. And then the finishing on the Medfords nowadays this one's it's been used, so it's got some oil on it. But the finish on the blades, it feels like glass. on all these new Medfords. And that's something to you're either gonna like or not like. I don't find this to be, it's not gonna jump out of my hand. You do have some jimping right here, and it's very light. It'll do the job if that's what you're doing. Ergonomically, larger hands, you get the full 4-finger grip, and even if you had bigger hands, you'd still be able to get it on there. And as far as hot spots go, the way they did this clip, you don't feel it at all. I mean, you can bear down as hard as you want, and you're not going to feel it. You just don't feel it. So the ergonomics of the knife are fantastic. You've got kind of like a guard right here, so to speak. I believe that's what it is, so you don't slip up. Now it's not it's not like you're gonna stab into a concrete wall and not cut your finger, but it's gonna do its job. So when you're got your full purchase on there, you do feel it. So I mean, it's not sharp or anything like that, but it's just like a small guard. So that the design that went into that, I appreciate. Negatives about the knife, I would just say that there's one way of, and it's not really negative. There's only one way to deploy the knife, and that is with the front flipper. Now you can do, I don't know what that move is called, but it is doable. I'm not the best at it, but and the price point on these, it's a Medford, they're expensive, but these are on the lower end. I believe they're around $550, something like that. So for a full titanium Medford slimmer model, full titanium backspacer, you can't go wrong with it. It just all depends on if that's your, if you like front flippers, this is not going to disappoint. If you don't like front flippers, don't buy it unless you want to practice with it, or I don't know, what have you. What would have been kind of cool is if they could put a kind of like an Emerson disc on here. That way you could have a couple ways of deploying the knife. I think that would have been cool. But overall, I'm pleased with it. I've carried it, I've used it. It's a hell of a knife. It doesn't get the love it deserves. And I hope this helps anybody out as far as, if they're on the fence about it or have seen it for the first time. Again, American made front flipper by Medford. Love them or hate them, makes excellent knives. And I hope this information kind of points you in the right direction if you've been looking at one or seeing it for the first time. But I appreciate you watching. If you like the content, hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. And again, I'll answer every comment that I receive. And I appreciate you watching. Thanks.